Am I the a-hole for telling my stepdad it was never a competition when he asked why I chose to have just my dad walk me down the aisle? My parents divorced when I was 4. I was their youngest child at that point. My brother was 10 and my sister was 8. And 2 years later, our mom remarried. I believe my stepdad thought he would inherit at least one child to call his own out of the marriage, as my siblings were older and not too happy about our stepdad. Something about him they simply didn't like. With me, I had no issue with him going in, but he made everything such a competition. He wanted to do everything my dad did. Would ask to go instead of my dad to certain dad things, Father's Day events, father-kid sports stuff, etc. And when I said no, he would tell me I was hurting his feelings. My dad was bothered by the whole going instead of stuff, so he offered for him to come with us a time or two. But that promptly stopped when he tried to take my dad's place at some of those events. When I was 12, my mom was in the UK for a work thing, and I was at my dad's the whole time. I ended up getting sick, and my stepdad showed up a few hours in when my mom had contacted him after dad contacted her, and he tried to tell my dad to leave so he could take over. I begged dad not to go and said I needed him, and the hurt my stepdad expressed to me/us was so deep. My dad told him not to put his feelings on me, and stepdad said I was big enough to understand that rejecting him as a dad hurt. It almost kicked off, but my dad just asked a nurse to remove my stepdad. Then he showed up 2 days later when I was still in the hospital and asked me if I would go to his and my mom's for him to take care of me. I said I didn't want to, and again he expressed I was breaking his heart, and why did I always choose my dad over him as he was my dad too. I told my mom about it, but she said it was a blessing to have 2 dads, and I should treat him more as a dad than as a step because he was trying his hardest. When I was 14, she really emphasized that with me, because they had suffered 2 miscarriages and a stillbirth, and she was no longer able to have kids after it. She said he only ever wanted to be a dad, and that he had always loved me, and it would be good for him to be loved back just as hard. Afterward, it was too much. I chose to live with my dad and just visit my mom and stepdad. And now it's been several more years. I'm 26, and he still tries to compete. He asked me directly the other night why I chose to ask my dad to walk me down the aisle at my wedding, getting married this November. And I told him because he's my dad. He started to interrupt, but I cut him off and told him to stop. That it was never a competition between them because my dad has always been and always will be my dad, and he was never going to win against him. He lost it and told me it was obviously a competition because he never got treated the same or loved the same. And it's a slap in the face because he is just as much my dad as my bi dad is. My mom is pissed at how I spoke to him too. Am I the a-hole? I touched on it in the post, but my dad on occasion did try to include stepdad in some stuff. He never came. And then it stopped when stepdad tried to push dad out of stuff so he could do it alone. Always Father's Day stuff too, or stuff relating to father-kid things. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I'm a stepmom. I would never insist that any of my stepkids put me in a role they weren't comfortable with. They started referring to me in mom titles way before I did. Your dad is your dad. People who tried to take that over/guilt you for not denying that, especially when you had a fully present dad in your life, are terrible, and this is 100% on them. All the miscarriage shaming? Gross. All the telling you that you needed to treat this person who wasn't your dad like he was your dad? Gross. He doesn't get to take over for your bio dad because he doesn't have bio kids of his own. It makes me sad because the step-parent/step-kid relationship can be great, meaningful and funny and heartfelt and frustrating and everything else all at once. But it can be that without trying to equate yourself to a parent. You aren't. Not the a-hole. He is being ridiculous, and your mother should have told him to wind his neck years ago. I often wonder if my mom hoped all 3 of us would fall in love with him and call him dad and choose to be a family with them over our dad. That might sound like I'm a really suspicious person, but she never took what I said about it seriously and always tried to encourage I see him as a dad. And I know she fought my siblings on their perceptions of him from the beginning. Next story. Am I the a-hole for yelling at my stepfather when he suggested that he could walk me down the aisle? So 2 weeks ago, I, 25 female, got married to my husband, 26 male. When I was 6 years old, my mom and dad got divorced. 3 years later, my mom met and married Fred, who who had basically been my surrogate dad for all these years because my biological one hasn't been a huge part of my life. And Fred's kids, 20 male, 18 female, and 16 male, are basically my siblings. On last minute, my boy dad decided he didn't want to come to my wedding and walk me down the aisle. I got the call while I was getting my makeup done, and I was devastated, needless to say. Fred was in the room with me, and he started comforting me, telling me it would all be okay. And he said, "If you want, I can walk you down." That just rubbed me wrong, and I was already a mess emotionally. Fred knew how much I wanted my boy dad to walk me down the aisle, and he just suggested it like it didn't matter at all, like I hadn't just gotten my heart broken. So I just snapped and told him he was selfish, and told him to get out. Fred left, and one of my uncles ended up walking me down the aisle. My mom only heard about mine and Fred's fights after the wedding, and she's now pissed off at me, telling me that I overreacted, and that I needed to apologize to Fred, even though I was just frustrated and he had suggested something totally out of the left field. My mom told me that I was the selfish one apparently, and apparently I'm ungrateful. But I feel like his suggestion was completely wrong, and that I don't need to apologize. But I don't want to make things worse by not apologizing if I did do something wrong. So am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. You just said 1, your boy dad wasn't involved in your life. 2, your stepdad was your dad growing up. And 3, your stepdad didn't impose himself at all until your boy dad flat out rejected your request. Your stepdad was trying to be supportive and you rejected him. If he hadn't offered, would you have been happier? Stop projecting your anger at your boy dad at your stepdad. Yes, she got her hopes up about her boy dad and was let down again. She's the a-hole for reacting the way she did, taking her anger out on him, when it should have been directed at boy dad. I hate posts like this because it seems like the child at the post isn't seeing past the nose on their face. Opie's boy dad has been doing this and will continue to do this throughout her life. The sad thing is, she doesn't realize it won't stop with the wedding just like it didn't stop when she was a little girl. It will continue over and over again throughout her life, until she either A, goes no contact with him, or B, one of them passes on. The problem Opie doesn't see is that Fred is a human being with feelings as well. Opie snapping at him for only trying to help? Seems to me not the first or the last time she dumped on him when her boy dad left her high and dry. Eventually, Fred will stop playing the role of supportive dad and simply take himself out of the relationship, as there's only so much a person can take. From what I read, Opie's mom and stepdad had a conversation, and it seems like Fred has been snapped at one too many times. He was mature and didn't respond in the moment. My guess is that he talked to Opie's mom and was like, "That's it, I'm done trying. Every time I tried makeup for boy dad, I get yelled at and snapped at. So I'm not going to anymore. Opie, you need to apologize. You need to acknowledge everything Fred has done for you. You need to realize he never had to do those things. And you need to respect the man who stepped in when your own dad stepped out. And go no contact with your dad, or you're going to continue to be in the world of heartache." Yep. Opie will forever remember her wedding day as the day she lost 2 dads. Opie does not seem to be quite that self-aware. After all, she lives in a world where it's possible she's not the a-hole. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my future sister-in-law I am done discussing my parents not giving her money for her wedding? I am getting married next May, and my brother and his fiancée are getting married that August. My brother and I grew up very privileged, and our parents offered to pay for both of our weddings and lay out what they were willing to pay. I don't like getting into money, but it was extremely generous. I come from a big Cuban family with few boundaries, and everyone is in everyone's business, and I love it. So my brother and I both understood there would be some strings attached, and my mom would want to be heavily involved. I said yes, and my brother said he had to talk to his fiancée, Claire. Claire was not alright with my parents having a say in the wedding, and didn't want to set the precedent that my mom is going to have control over their lives. I totally respect her decision. She's a very independent, lone wolf type, and honestly, that is a personality I can't understand, but I don't judge. Claire and I get along great, and are both going to be bridesmaids in each other's weddings. As we began planning, Claire began to express frustration over planning a budget wedding, and I sympathized. Then she became obsessive about the topic of my parents and how they suck for not just giving us the money outright, and that my mom's a controlling witch. This really upset me, and we got into a fight, and then talking about how she hates our family and how everyone is enmeshed. I asked her to stop a couple of times. The American lifestyle with a big focus on independence has zero appeal to me, but I've never criticized anyone and keep my opinion to myself. Recently, we were hanging out with my oldest brother and sister-in-law. Parents paid for their wedding too. And my older brother said something about how he broke up with an ex once before his marriage because she wasn't okay with the idea of multi-generation living together, and he would never marry someone who wouldn't let my parents move in someday. Claire got upset, don't really understand why, and started ranting about how my parents are entitled, how they won't give her money and ruin her wedding, and how me and my fiancé are cowards for taking their money. My older brother screamed at her and called her a bunch of names, which I don't think was right, and banned her from his house, but he is kind of a hothead. He then told my mom, and now my mom is threatening not to come. I don't want to be that extreme, but I sent Claire a text that I am 100% done talking about wedding budgets or my parents, and if she brings it up again, I will walk out. And if it keeps happening, I will drop out of her wedding. Claire now feels I'm not supporting her and being a bad bridesmaid. She said I'm being really selfish and invalidating her feelings. Now my brother is mad and feels I should try to help her navigate because I am normally the chill one in the family, but I'm sick of listening to it. Now for the comments. Not a-hole, but you're pretty much the only one here who isn't. Claire needs to accept she can either have the money or total freedom to plan the event, but not both. Your older brother needs to not throw gas on the fire by tossing in his opinions about what relationships between married couples and the in-laws should look like. Maybe it was coincidence, but I have my doubts. And the groom-to-be needs to get clear on where he stands in all this, instead of looking to you to solve the problem for him. Agreed, but I don't think the parents are a-holes either. They clearly respected Claire's decision to not accept wedding funds. And now Claire is demonizing their entire family. Yep, I'm puzzled how Claire feels the parents are entitled. Their money, their culture. Deal with it. The parents respected her choice of control versus cash, and now she's angry? The only one who seems entitled in all this is Claire. Not a-hole. I empathize with Claire's independence, as she drew many lines I would have drawn myself. I don't like people in my business, and would not live under the presumption that people could pop in/move in anytime they want. That being said, I live within my own means, and I don't accept anything from anyone that comes with clear strings. She is not entitled to your family's money, and she double does not get to disrespect your parents. Your brother might be a hothead, but I don't think he was entirely wrong for blowing up in this situation. I put independence in quotes because I don't think she's trying to be independent, so much as she's trying to have her cake and eat it too. Yep, don't try to have any say in what I do. I'm independent. But give me your money. Not a-hole. Your parents can put whatever conditions they want on that money, because it's their money. Claire needs to either get with it or get over it. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for asking my grandpa to walk me down the aisle over my mom's husband? My dad died when I was 12. My parents were long since divorced, and my mom introduced me to her husband 2 days after my 13th birthday and married him 5 months later. I think my mom's husband was hoping I would see him as another parent and dad figure. But because of my age, I always saw him as my mom's husband. We get along fine, but he was never someone I looked to for dad stuff. That fell to my grandpa, my dad's dad. Even before my dad died, I was around my paternal grandparents a lot, and I looked to my grandpa as another dad figure. So when he got engaged last year, I asked my grandfather if he would walk me down the aisle. Not because I wanted something super traditional, but I was always a daddy's girl, and he was my favorite person when I was a kid, so he would have been by my side regardless. My fiancé and I decided we would walk together with one parent each beside us. So I chose my grandfather in place of my dad, and my fiancé chose his mom. I didn't really say anything because I didn't think I needed to. But when my mom's husband asked who was walking me and I told him my grandpa, he got really quiet for like an hour and then asked me why I chose my grandpa over him. My mom was there at that point and asked why I would ask a grandparent over a parent. I said I wanted my grandpa there to represent my dad, and because we had a very close, very important relationship. I said my mom and her husband would be walking together during the wedding. They said it wasn't enough, and that he should have been asked first as the true father figure. I told them my grandpa was more of a father figure to me and had a more influential role in my life, and that I was sorry if feelings were hurt, but my grandpa was who I wanted there. My mom's husband said I should have considered him more, and at least just walk with my fiancé if I wouldn't even ask him to be by my side. My mom told me she was disappointed in me, that it's not what my dad would have wanted. I told her I think this is exactly what my dad would have wanted, which she couldn't argue back with. It's been a while, and there's still tension there. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You are right, they are wrong. This one isn't complicated. Your day, so your way, not the a-hole. You also explained your choice in a reasonable way. I can understand why your mom's husband might feel disappointed, but that does not give him, or anyone else, the right to call on you on your choice. Not the a-hole. Good luck. Not the a-hole. Your wedding, your choice. Your stepfather is making your wedding about him at his hurt feelings. He was your mother's choice, not yours, and you are much closer to your paternal grandfather. Your stepfather is allowed to have his feelings on the issue, but that's where it ends. Him telling you that you should have considered him more and just walk with your fiancé crosses the line. You're doing what feels natural and best for you. Now your mother and stepfather need to respect your decision. You have done nothing wrong here. It's fine for him to ask, and fine for him to hope, and even fine for him to be disappointed. But by asking more questions, he is only going to hurt himself, since there's no non-hurtful answer of why you like someone else better than him. A lesson most of us learned in middle school. Not the a-hole. I really don't get all these step-parents who try to push their own agendas on unwilling stepchildren. Being treated with civility and respect is all you can demand, really. But then, if step-parents all behaved, we wouldn't have AITA. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad, aunts, and uncles to grow up and get over their mom's affair? My grandma, 65 female, and I, 21 male, get along really well. She's amazing. I love her and look up to her. That's why my perspective can be biased and need some point of views to know if I messed up. Grandma had 5 children. My dad, 43 male. My uncle Tim, 42 male. My uncle Matt, 35 male. My aunt Faith, 47 female. And my aunt Susan, 30 female, with grandpa, 66 male. Grandpa was a terrible father and a garbage husband. An alcoholic who spent all his money on liquor. Never supported grandma while she worked her butt to provide for her kids as a baker. She got tired of it and kicked him out in the 90s. She stayed as single mom and only provider. Did he pay child support? No. Did he help her buy a house for his kids? No. Did he ask for custody or try to spend time with his kids? No. He only visited once in a blue moon. Grandma and grandpa never divorced since my grandma didn't believe in it and she was always a single mother. Then, my grandma started dating William, 67 male, 2 years ago, but she didn't introduce him to her kids because she was afraid of their reaction and I was the only one who knew about the affair. Grandma announced that she was moving to William's house this past July and everyone was furious and started accusing her of cheating and that she was choosing her affair partner over her own kids. She was even hesitant about moving in with William, but I encouraged her because he makes her happy and he is a nice man. It's been almost 2 months and they refuse to talk to her or have low contact with her and that is hurting her. She asked my grandpa for a divorce and he got mad at her and accused her of cheating. They were talking trash about her. They sexed at a family dinner. Thus, I told them to grow up and stop acting like kids since they are not. I told them that they should be happy about their mom's happiness because that woman dedicated her life to make life easier for them. And it's so unfair that they crap on her while praising my grandpa, who had girlfriends, by the way. They all called me the a-hole for not taking their feelings into consideration, and they say that something doesn't feel right about their mom dating at this age. They accuse her of cheating, but that isn't cheating. They haven't been together for around 25 years. My grandpa had a couple of girlfriends, and yes, they were mad at him too, but it's time to grow up. Am I the a-hole for telling them to grow up? I think they need to understand that their parents ain't getting back together, in case they have a hope, and that grandma has a right to be happy. I mean, she did her job already without any help. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Legally, they're separated. Unfortunately, your grandma will have to divorce grandpa if she does want to have a marriage between her and William, recognized under state and federal law. It's not an affair since they are separated. Not the a-hole. Your dad, uncles, and aunts are childish and are acting in a selfish way. Your grandma has the right to be happy at any age. As you said, this is very far from cheating, since your grandparents split up over 2 whole decades ago. Her family needs to accept that and let her have some joint happiness in her life finally, when she can focus on herself instead of focusing on raising 5 kids alone. I feel sad for Grandma to realize that she raised such ungrateful a-holes. How utterly disappointing for her. Could they even name one instance where their father did anything of significance for them? Not the a-hole. I bet it's not even the cheating so much as it is that she has someone in her life who gets some of her attention and they want it all. That cheating is just an excuse. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your grandparents have legally been separated for 25 years, and your dad and his siblings bear being ageist by saying at 65 your grandma is too old to date. Personally, I'd be telling them the statistics about STDs in the senior population. The geriatric population really likes to get it on, you know, seeing as they don't have to worry about anyone getting knocked up. Those senior living communities and nursing homes are just as much more wrinkled version of Love Island. And your grandma still has 20 years to go before she hits that crowd. I'm not at all kidding. Look it up. Old people are really into lots of casual hookups. You are 100% right on this. You are awesome for having your grandmas back. I hope your grandma and William have the best golden years together, and that her children all get their heads out of their behinds and grovel at their mom's and William's feet for being pricks. Can't confirm on this one. Here in the UK, there was a whole mini epidemic in care homes for the elderly with syphilis, chlamydia, and gonorrhea. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my mother-in-law to leave our wedding because her perfume was bothering me? I just got married to the love of my life. I've usually got it on pretty well with my in-laws. Usually, my mother-in-law doesn't wear perfume, or at least not any that I've been able to notice. My wife had her mother be her matron of honor, so she was standing with us up front. It was a small area, and with her right next to my wife, I was able to smell her perfume. Shortly after the ceremony started, I started to get watery eyes and sniffles. Our ceremony was supposed to only last 20 minutes max, so I thought I would just push through unless it got worse. It didn't get worse until after the ceremony when new mother-in-law hugged me. Itchy eyes, itchy throat, and headache got added to the mix. My wife asked if I was alright, and I told her I think her mother's perfume was getting to me. We had someone go get some allergy medication. I took one, but it didn't do a whole lot, and I started to feel out of it. Get to the reception, and we started to do our photos, and I couldn't do group photos with my mother-in-law in them. I told my wife we needed to figure something out, because my symptoms weren't letting up, and I didn't want to be out of it from taking more meds for our reception or have to leave our own reception. My wife asked her mom to keep some distance between us to try and make it easier for me. It didn't really. The perfume followed her like a damn cloud. Then my wife asked her mom to try and wash wherever she dabbed her perfume, but mother-in-law said she hadn't dabbed it on. She spritzed herself so it was on her dress too. At that point, they said they were out of ideas and there wasn't anything we could do. I said there was one more thing, and suggested that maybe mother-in-law leave to change her dress and then come back, or even just go to a nearby thrift store or something and get any kind of clothes. I'd even pay for them. I asked my mother-in-law to either please to do that or to leave, and would visit later with cake because it was getting to the point that I would have to leave. My wife and mother-in-law objected to this because my wife wanted her mom there the whole time. I understand the day was big for my wife and she wanted her mother there. And I wanted her there too, but I wasn't able to enjoy my own wedding. I wound up sitting outside with some of my family and groomsmen. I started to feel better, and when I did, my wife came out and asked if I'd be going back inside then. I told her not so long as her mom was still there and hadn't changed. That night ended with my wife spending our wedding night at her parents' house. Am I the a-hole for asking my mother-in-law to leave? Edited to add, yes, my wife is aware of this. I had a similar reaction to a perfume she bought before. This was the only third time I've had a reaction that bad to perfumes. My wife and mother-in-law objected to this because my wife wanted her mom there the whole time. But your wife didn't want her new husband there? Oof. Definitely not the a-hole. Bad situation, but you were being reasonable. Mother-in-law should have gone and taken a shower and returned with clean clothes. Wife is being unreasonable. I hope you didn't sign the wedding papers yet. I actually had an allergic reaction to the flowers in my wife's bouquet. But since the wedding was outside, it didn't hit me until days later when we were driving away from the hotel with a bouquet in the car. There wasn't a viable option for sealing it up, so we ended up tossing out the bouquet. Mother-in-law sent over a vase of flowers a few months ago with the same flowers. I didn't even realize it was the same flowers, but within a minute of me being in the same room, I was wrecked. Not the a-hole. I can't believe your mother-in-law and your new wife would be so selfish. You struggling to breathe and simply be at your wedding is wildly messed up when mother-in-law had opportunity to just buy a new outfit or come back later. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my daughter be in wedding photos? I, 30 female, have a daughter, Lily, 5 female. My brother, James, 32 male, and his wife, Brittany, 26 female, got married in July. I was friendly with Brittany before they were dating/engaged, but we weren't friends. James and I are very close though. When James first proposed to Brittany and they started wedding planning, it was made very clear to me that Lily and I would be part of the wedding. Throughout the wedding planning process, it was reiterated that Lily would be a flower girl and I would be maid of honor. A few weeks before the wedding, Brittany came to my house to talk to me. She explained that her family had raised concerns about kids attending the wedding, and Brittany/James have decided to make the ceremony child-free, but that Lily was more than welcome to come to the reception. I tell her something along the lines of, "Okay, it's your wedding. I love my brother, so I'll do whatever he asks of me." Fast forward to the rehearsal. We line up and everything is going as expected until Brittany's 3 nieces, 5 female, 7 female, 8 female, walk in as junior bridesmaids. I'm confused and slightly annoyed, but whatever. After, James pulls me to the side and says that Brittany was worried that Lily would accidentally ruin the wedding with a temper tantrum, and that's why they lied about the wedding be child-free. I explained to James that this really angers me, and it hurt that they think that about my child. But it's fine. I had already arranged for my friend to watch Lily during the ceremony and then meet me for the reception. James said he understood my feelings and didn't agree with Lily not being invited. The day of the wedding, Brittany asks where Lily is and why she wasn't there while we got ready. I explained that she is with a friend and will be at the reception later. Brittany then says she's going to call so Lily can be brought over for the pictures because people will ask why she's missing in the pictures, and it will make her look bad. I told her she can call, but my friend knows the situation and won't come until I ask her to. Brittany called James to have him make me stop being a petty witch, but he said he knew the plan and didn't see a problem with it. She then asked what they're supposed to tell people when they look at photos and asked where Lily is. I said to tell them that she wasn't invited since she has too many temper tantrums. She called me a witch and said I was taking things too personally. After that, the wedding was awkward to say the least. There was a lot of drama within the wedding party that had nothing to do with the situation. James texted our family group chat with a link to the wedding photos. Now extended family has been reaching out, wanting to know why Lily isn't in any pictures and I have to explain the situation. My mom is on my side, but all my aunts/uncles said that I'm a petty a-hole. So am I the a-hole? Edited to add. 1. Does my daughter has a history of throwing temper tantrums? No, throwing temper tantrums is out of the norm for her. 2. How I was maid of honor without knowing other kids would be involved in the wedding? I was originally just a bridesmaid, but drama within the wedding party is the reason Brittany's promoted me to maid of honor. 3. Just to clarify the timeline a little bit, James and Brittany did first look/couple photos the week before the wedding. On the wedding day itself, the only picture that we took were get ready/bridal party and family photos. Now for the comments. What an absolute crap show. Not a hole. Your daughter wasn't invited, so why would she be in the pictures? Although I'm curious, why is your family so concerned about your daughter having a temper tantrum? Is this a pattern with her? No, she doesn't throw temper tantrums on a regular basis. It's definitely not a pattern and is very out of the norm for her. Not the a-hole, whether Lily throws tantrums or not. The bride/groom made their choices clear. Who comes and doesn't is their choice, nobody else's. Lying to you about it was super trashy. No excuse for them there. They're trying to have their cake and eat it too. Make it seem like the kids were warmly welcomed when in fact Lily was coldly excluded. It's their wedding day and you must respect that, but that doesn't mean having your daughter become a prop for the official photos, or assisting them in misleading the family and relatives by implying Lily was invited when she wasn't. Personally, I think you've done perfectly. Just explain the situation and tell your brother you understand and forgive him for misleading you about Lily, but you understand he has bigger problems than you. And if he needs to talk to someone, you'll always be there. He probably will at some point, because it sounds like Brittany is in the middle of more problems than Lily's wedding photo. Not the a-hole. She got her wish. Lily was not at a wedding and was at a reception, which is why sometimes we have to be careful what we wish for. The photos represent things perfectly. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for sending the police after my ex-brother-in-law after an heirloom got lost? My ex-husband and I had a son, 11 now. 4 years ago, we divorced and he moved into the outhouse of his aging dad. Then last year, my ex died of a sudden stroke. Our marriage ended on good terms, so at the funeral, my ex-father-in-law offered us to come over and look through my ex's stuff to see if we wanted anything. He also said that we should take our time as it's not going anywhere. It took us 6 weeks to gather the strength, only to realize that most of his stuff was already gone. We asked my ex-father-in-law about it, who was as surprised as us. He explained my ex's brother was there a couple of times to check on the house and occasionally get some documents. After a lot of pressing, my ex-brother-in-law admitted that he sold or threw away most things to prepare the house to be rented out. My son and I were heartbroken. My ex-father-in-law was too, but took this as a sign to add something to his will. My son and he both were history buffs and bonded over that. My ex-father-in-law also had a small collection of historical artifacts, books, and other trinkets that was his biggest pride. And after the whole ordeal with my ex, he put in his will that my son is to inherit it. 2 weeks ago, my ex-father-in-law passed. We waited until after the funeral before we went over to get the collection. First time ex-brother-in-law told us he was in a hurry at the moment and we should come back later. The next day, he told us that he couldn't find it. Must have been lost or the old man got rid of it. Heck, for all I know, it could have been stolen. I saw red. As soon as I was back home, I called the cops and told them the story and made sure to stress my ex-brother-in-law's suspicion that it might have been stolen. They must have finally come round to investigate because yesterday I received a call from a furious ex-brother-in-law that the police were at his home. After realizing there was neither remorse nor urgency in his voice, I doubled down with a bluff and told him I'm suspecting that there might have been cultural goods in the collection that would have needed to be registered, and that I was just about to call the cops again because this would escalate this from simple theft to antiquities fencing. We had the collection dropped off at our house an hour later, after he suddenly was able to find it. My son is over the moon, and I'm happy he has a way of connecting to his late granddad through the collection. Being a small town, this is now naturally the talk of the city, and I have no doubts that the time the police were at their house will be brought up every time someone says ex-brother-in-law's name for years to come. And of course, everybody is picking sides. And through the vineyard, I heard that some people are painting me as a greedy a-hole, while others think the same of my ex-brother-in-law. While none of this will have an impact on my family, we're likely to move away now that there's not family left here. I do feel bad for maybe tainting my son's memory of his granddad and uncle by going for the nuclear option and fear it might have been unproportional as he could have genuinely just been unable to find it. So, am I the a-hole? I don't think he was genuinely anything. You bluffed. And an hour later he found it? Yeah, right. Definitely not the a-hole. He deserves to have the cop visit tag follow him for the rest of his days. Bless his heart. It's so weird how people can complain about others making them face consequences for their actions, but those consequences are 100% normal and expected. Like, you stole things. Police visits only? You are getting off lucky, buddy. Not the a-hole. I would call your brother-in-law a vulture, except that's pretty harsh on actual vultures who are useful to the ecosystem. You found and protected your son's inheritance. Any small-town gossips who don't see that have either been fed a skewed version of events or are just as greedy-grabby as brother-in-law. Oh, I'm pretty sure in the current retelling of events, there are already drugs, the mafia or the government involved. Nothing beats the creativity of a game of telephone involving a rural small town.